Hello and welcome to the Saturday news. Exciting stuff. I've got my cap on backwards. I am ready for this. What have you got for us today, Gareth?
Well, I've got some SmackDown results, some information coming out of SmackDown today. We've also got an updated lineup for what's going on at Money in the Bank. Drew McIntyre has been talking about a UFC star who could be, maybe could be, could not, could be, a lot of could be's coming to WWE. We've also got an announcement for Raw coming up for Drew McIntyre. We've also got, there's a lot here, Phil. We've got a lot of employees feeling survivor's guilt over these recent releases, and also some more information on people who have been released. And some information on the actual, the length of time that some of these stars had on their contracts before they were released. There's a lot there.
Excellent. So much to get through today, so I'll try and quick fire it. But I've also got a brand new filming schedule for WWE, an update on Roman Reigns on TV, and Heath Slater's got a brilliant t-shirt, but we'll get to that. But first, Money in the Bank. They've announced an incredible match for Money in the Bank. This year, they're going to do it. Not in the Performance Center, but they're going to Titan Towers. The match is going to start on the ground floor, and the people are going to literally have to work their way up floor by floor through Titan Towers to get to the roof and then climb a ladder on the bloody roof of Titan Towers. This is like my favorite thing that WWE have announced in absolutely years. I absolutely love it.
It's something of a silver lining, isn't it, to what's been a pretty turbulent week. I don't know how they insure this. They're going to be climbing a ladder on a building. It's madness, Phil.
The Wrestle Daily on Twitter have put out some photos from WWE doing a bit of a shoot there. We don't know if this is like the actual match or if it's like a promo for it or something like that. But have a look at these photos of the setup on the roof of Titan Towers. I mean, how can this be bad? Even if the match is absolutely terrible, we're at least going to get a nice tour of Titan Towers. And if somewhere in that tour of Titan Towers they can recreate some of the moments from that old Attitude Era advert, then, I mean, this is just going to be the best. I just want someone to have their face smashed into the T-Rex in Vince's office. Like, how can this be bad?
I mean, that would be brilliant. I'm curious, is this going to be for both matches? Are they going to have, are they the rules for both matches? Was it announced?
I assume so. I don't know whether they actually mentioned it on TV.
Right, so that could be quite interesting, because they might have to think of, they're going to have to be as creative as possible, really, because if we've got two matches in a similar vein.
I mean, there's plenty of places you can go in Titan Towers, surely.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
I just can't wait. It's going to be so good.
That's just, I literally, coming into this SmackDown today, I was just thinking, there's got to be something interesting and positive after what's been a mad old week. And I just never in my wildest dreams would have imagined that this is what they had in store for us.
It's great. The tagline for it as well is climb the corporate ladder, obviously.
Well,
it just works. It's so good.
Never miss a beat, do they? That's it. But yeah, speaking of things announced for Money in the Bank, we had a lot of things happen on SmackDown that obviously tie into Money in the Bank going forward. We had Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman's match that got announced for Money in the Bank, that Universal title match. Very interesting. All the graphics on SmackDown seem to suggest that we're not going to get The Fiend in that match because it was Bray Wyatt's face. Whether that's just a massive bait and switch, and when it comes to the actual match itself, he comes out and switches into The Fiend. We don't know. They're probably going to, if this entire event goes down inside of Titan Towers, which would, and they've not said that as such, but if this match were to as well, they could again do some quite creative stuff with that. Again, that's just assumption at this point. It sounds like it could be in the PC, but we'll see. Also in SmackDown, we had Dana Brooke and Daniel Bryan. They both qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder matches, the men's and women's. And Sheamus murdered another jobber because that's what he does now. Sasha Banks and Tamina had a match, and obviously this was for a number one contender's opportunity for Tamina if she won, and of course she did. So she's going to be taking on Bayley at Money in the Bank now as well.
I have actually heard that ain't nobody meaner than Tamina, so I mean that match should be quite good.
Yeah, that's why it was shoe-in when it happened on SmackDown. I thought, well, there's no chance she doesn't win this because nobody meaner. That is it. And also we had Sonya Deville had a bit of a run-in with Mandy Rose. She told her, she gave her a piece of her mind. Finally get that real, it seems like this is really setting in motion now. There's going to be an actual feud between the two, which is quite cool. We've also had Baron Corbin attacked Elias because that's still happening. And then I think that's everything. But the biggest story coming out of SmackDown for me, my money anyway, is the fact that we've got some new tag team champions because Big E beat I believe it was it Jey Uso? Was it
Yes.
Jey Uso and
Jey, yeah.
The Miz in that triple threat, alternative triple threat to what we got at WrestleMania. He won that match out of nowhere. It was a big shock. And they're now eight-time tag team champions. A lot of T's there. But yeah, the New Day. Look at that. Out of nowhere, they've got the gold again. It's madness. A lot to break down there, obviously. And then obviously there was a lot announced for next week's SmackDown as well. You had Drew Gulak taking on Baron Corbin in the Money in the Bank qualifier. You've got Sasha Banks and Lacey Evans going at it in a Money in the Bank qualifier. You've also got a tag match, a tag team championship match, the women's tag team championships. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross are going up against Carmella and Dana Brooke. We're going to have an in-depth look at the history between Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. We're going to have another in-depth look, but this time at Jeff Hardy. We're going to get chapter 3 of his little documentary series that we're getting on SmackDown. We had the fall on last night's episode. We're going to get the redemption, so that's quite nice, next week. And then just to top all this stuff, so much stuff that happened on SmackDown. We've got Triple H's 25th anniversary celebrations are set to begin. And the word is begin there, so I've got a bad feeling this is going to be quite a lot of Triple H celebrating over the next week or so, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to get a week-long Triple H celebration.
Not great. But yeah, a lot to go into there. But obviously, we're going to have our SmackDown review podcast later on where we will go into a lot more detail. But yeah, a lot of stuff happened at SmackDown.
Indeed, and Ups and Downs will be out at 2 p.m. British time, so watch out for that. But speaking of things coming up next week, WWE are changing up their filming schedule. Originally, they've been going back and forth about whether they're taping or doing live shows, and then they said they're going to start doing them live again. Well, they're going to do them live for a little bit. Up until SmackDown next week is all going to be live shows. So last night was live, Monday Raw is going to be live, NXT is going to be live, and then SmackDown's going to be live. But after that, they're going to start taping matches. I'm not going to go into the full taping schedule because there's a lot there. But up until sometime around May, around Money in the Bank, they are going to be doing sort of bi-weekly tapings. So roughly, like say on a Monday, they'll tape 2 episodes of Raw. On a Wednesday, they'll tape 2 episodes of NXT. On Friday, they'll tape 2 episodes of SmackDown. And then they'll keep on going like that. So they're sort of trying to limit the amount of time that they're bringing people in, flying people into Florida for, and just doing the tapings on a bi-weekly rota. Also, they've put some safety measures in place at the Performance Center. Obviously, everyone, when they're not on camera, has to wear a face mask. They're practicing good hygiene and hand washing for the appropriate amount of time. They've got medical screenings prior to entering the building at all. All of the matches are done in waves, so they have time to clean around the matches. Only essential personnel are on site, and they're adhering to social distancing rules, obviously, when they're not actually performing in the ring, because that would not go down well. And apparently they've got what they're calling a pandemic-level cleaning. So who knows what that means. But a rep from WWE Pro Wrestling Sheet reached out to them, and they said, which this gives you a slight insight into how important WWE actually think they are. We believe it is now more important than ever to provide people with a diversion from these hard times. We are producing content on a closed set with only essential personnel in attendance, following appropriate guidelines while taking additional precautions to ensure the health and wellness of our performers and staff. As a brand that has been woven into the fabric of society, WWE and its superstars bring families together and deliver a sense of hope, determination and perseverance.
Wow, that's a lot of horn tooting there, isn't it?
Yeah, they really like themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
But obviously it's good to see that they're putting loads of health and safety measures in place, and that they're not just going into this. Like, we were a bit worried when they just said they were going back to live broadcasting. I guess whatever their issues were with their contracts with Fox and USA and things like that, they've reached to terms with, and they're not worried about that anymore. Obviously, taping is a much safer route to go if you have to do it at all.
Yeah, I was thinking that, as you were saying, obviously, because there was a big hoo-ha, obviously, made a week or so about the fact that they were going back into these the live scheduling and the risk, the sheer risk that was involved in getting people back and forth on the Performance Center. It's a good sign. I say a good sign. It's a slight ray of hope that they are starting to minimalise again the actual contact time that people are going to have, or at least trying to isolate it into a certain period. But at the end of the day, until the company will cease really for a little bit and stop and maybe just think again and think, okay, there's bigger things at hand than just having a wrestling show on week to week. It's still just going to be a best case scenario, not the absolute right thing they should be doing. Again, you can see from their comments saying, oh yeah, we bring joy and we're this, we're that, and just look how amazing we are. We need to keep going for the spirit of the human race. It's like, okay, yeah, we like wrestling, like we do, we love wrestling, that's why we do what we do, but there are bigger things at hand right now than just having a weekly wrestling show. There's people who need to be. You've got wrestlers there. Daniel Bryan, people like obviously people who've just been released that also had kids and everything else. But he's got a family back home that he can't see because he keeps running a risk every time he comes to work. So it's you got to think of the humanity side of this anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sort of statement at the end puts it into perspective. I don't think they're going to stop this anytime soon. They're going to keep going until someone tells them, absolutely, you are not allowed to do this anymore. But yeah, at least they're putting the health and safety measures in place and doing what they can. If you want to see a full breakdown of that recording schedule, it will be up on our website as well.
Lovely. Also, Drew McIntyre. I'm not sure how to segue into this one. Just social media attacking each other. There you go. So Drew McIntyre has addressed some comments made by a UFC fighter, one Coby Covington, who himself, he came out the other day and said, yeah, I'm looking to get into wrestling probably around 2021. If you don't know who Coby Covington is, he's probably one of the loudest mouths in UFC, in MMA, just in general right now. He's a master of being a heel in terms of the legitimate sport. Big Donald Trump supporter and everything else, so he's quite divisive in the MMA community. But he came out and spoke to Submission Radio, and he said, me and Drew McIntyre is a good matchup. He's a big guy, but it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. And everyone knows how big the fight is in me. So I just think I can beat any man alive right now, and I'm the best in the world. So they need to let me go over there and make wrestling real again. So yeah, he sounds like a heel right now in the company. So he sounds like he'd fit quite easily into the WWE landscape. But Drew McIntyre wasn't just content to let him have his comment and leave it there. He spoke on Twitter because obviously BT Sport not retweeted it, but they mentioned that Coby was interested in taking on Drew. And Drew sent a tweet saying, surprised you're still running your mouth, Coby Covington, after what Usman did to it. And Kamaru Usman broke Coby Covington's jaw, but I believe it was in December of last year. He just completely dislodged his face, really. Covington hasn't replied to this tweet, but Lashley, of all people, obviously he's got an MMA background. He's very good friends with Coby Covington because they used to train together when Lashley was obviously a full-time legitimate contender and a fighter in MMA. He said, Coby Covington, be careful, you might upset the chosen one, face with rolling eyes emoji. So he said that, and McIntyre obviously wasn't very pleased with this. I love a good Twitter war, me, Phil, it's great. He wasn't very pleased at all. He said, don't you have marital problems to be worried about? That's what he said. He called Lashley out for having marital problems on screen, and then Lashley responded by saying, easy man, I was just letting him know I still have your back, champ, thumbs up emoji. So, not sure how to feel about this, because, again, you just had Lashley there looking like he was stirring the pot and maybe setting something up for himself, which would have been pretty cool. And then he's just backtracked, and it's a bit like, oh.
Yeah, the backtracking's really weird. You don't often see that in wrestling Twitter wars. Like, oh, no, I'll step down. Oh, no, you're actually quite good, so thank you very much.
Whether it's a solidarity thing, whether it's like, oh, us wrestlers got to stick together, but then Lashley used to be an MMA star, so it's a bit like, I don't know what's going on.
Not sure. I do love Drew, though. We've actually got, cheap plug here, we may as well. We've got a video coming out, I think, tomorrow about sort of the untold story of Drew McIntyre's return to WWE with some insider things from WCPW, so look out for that. And I've also heard that there's a special place that people can go if they like this UFC thing.
I've heard about this as well, Phil. I believe it's called WhatCulture Combat. You can see this ugly mug on it on a weekly basis, talking about all things MMA. We've got loads of news at you. We've got loads of lists. Got a new body transformations list that we popped on the other day, which is looking pretty good. I was presenting it, so sorry for that. But yeah, it's a pretty cool channel. Love for you to go and check it out. Cheap plugs all around. There we go. What else? Also, we've got Drew McIntyre. Just going off Drew McIntyre because we love Drew McIntyre on this show, and we're going to talk about him a little bit more. He's going to address getting stomped on by Seth Rollins last week on Raw. He's going to address that on this week's episode of Raw. So that's looking like it may set the wheels in motion for a match Money in the Bank between the two, which I'm very excited about because that could be a brilliant match if they're given the chance to make a bit of magic. I think it's going to be pretty good.
Absolutely, that's like a perfect pairing for me. That's a great match. Cannot go wrong. Anyway, you may be wondering why you haven't heard Roman Reigns on TV for quite some time now. And, well, the answer is quite simple, because WWE have basically said to everyone, do not mention Roman Reigns on TV at all. Not even one little bit. So the last time we heard his mention was on March 27th, before WrestleMania, obviously. When they did the whole switch to Braun Strowman thing. But yeah, that's it. They do not want Roman Reigns' name mentioned on TV. They don't want any of the commentators or announcers or like anyone mentioning his name, reminding people that he's a thing that exists at all. I guess I don't know why, want to limit the impact of him not being there. Obviously, we're not going to see him for quite some time now. I wouldn't expect him until all of this world situation nonsense has resolved itself, obviously because of his immunodeficiencies and things. Obviously, he's also his wife has just been announced as being pregnant with twins again, so at least they've got that. But yeah, just straight up from WWE, do not mention Roman Reigns.
Yeah, it's a really strange move because he's been pretty much, you can say that Drew's the chosen one, but Roman's pretty much been the chosen one from the minute they've got behind him as a single star, and it's mad. Obviously, yeah. From the sounds of things, Vince isn't best pleased that Roman didn't stick around to obviously be in that Universal Championship match, but at the end of the day, he did what anyone would do in that situation would be inclined to do.
It was his only choice, really. Yeah. It wasn't even a choice.
Exactly, he had to do it. So this is. I'd say it's an odd move, but really it's just a pretty standard move based in like the week.
Yeah, it seems like a very WWE move, but it seems more of a very WWE move if there was a crowd. Like they wouldn't want people bringing him up in promos in case the crowd turns on whoever's doing it and like start chanting for Roman Reigns or something like that. But like now, like they've not got that to worry about, so I don't know why they wouldn't just like at least mention to the casual fans, hey, remember this Roman Reigns guy? He's not going to be on TV a while. This is why.
Yeah, because like, no one's gonna throw stones at WWE and go, oh, that's awful. I can't believe it. They're gonna be, oh, yeah, fair enough, that makes sense. Move on.
Yeah.
Doesn't make strange.
Weird. Anyway, what have we got next?
So in terms of we've talked about this last week being a bit of a manic one in WWE, just insane in terms of the amount of people who've been released from the company or furloughed. And apparently a lot of the employees that are still in the company that weren't released and weren't furloughed are feeling survivor's guilt over these releases, which they're inclined to. It's one of those things, like when you stay in a job, and in terms of the entire world right now as a situation, it's something personally I've felt right now, obviously, because we're still working, we're still getting to do what we love to do, and getting to earn money and everything else. And there are a lot of people around the world who aren't as fortunate, and we're incredibly grateful day to day to be able to do what we do. And it feels like a lot of the stars in the company right now are feeling very similar. They've sources inside of WWE, according to PW Insider, are saying that it's obviously a survivor's guilt feeling. And one employee actually told PW Insider that it felt like 40% of the workforce had gone. It comes from those still obviously scratching their heads over the friends and colleagues being released. And but they actually give us a bit of a breakdown in terms of which sectors of WWE were hit the hardest by these releases, which I think is quite interesting in itself. It says that the actual live event division was smashed to pieces, which is probably to be expected because they're not doing any live events right now, they're not touring. And the digital wing was hit quite hard too, which is, I'd say that's a little bit more surprising because obviously they've got all their online stuff that they're still pumping out there. You'd think they'd be putting a bit more of a focus on there, but maybe they've just highlighted the fact that they don't need as many people working on that just because of the situation. It's just a really unstable time in the company right now, and it's been made that little bit worse in general by these releases because suddenly all these staff members have lost their friends. They'll be sat there thinking, why not me? What's the difference between what I'm doing, what they're doing? A lot of these stars were still on television. It's very hard to make heads or tails of this really right now, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to remember as well, like the sort of big names and things that have been released that have name value and like people know, that's only a like tiny proportion of the amount of people that this has affected within WWE. So there's all the backstage people, all the production people. You've got to remember in these times, like you say, we're very lucky to be able to just take our laptops and things home and like record here. So it's not really affected us anywhere near as much as it has some other people, like not even just in WWE, but around the world as well. So yeah, we are really lucky for that.
Exactly. And in terms of releases, we've had word again of some more releases. It's a daily thing right now. We're hearing of more people trickling out. A lot of NXT stars have been released really under the radar in terms of compared to the rest of the main roster releases. Tainara Conti, who again had been a bit on and off with the company over the last couple of months anyway, but she's now officially been released. She obviously is a big NXT star, which could have been anyway. She's 24. She's got such a bright future ahead of her. You've got Tino Sabatelli. He's has gone, after quite a decent career in the NFL. He obviously teamed with Riddick Moss, who became 24/7 champion recently, but not obviously been in action for a while due to injuries and things like that. And then you've also got Cesar Bononi, who was signed in October 2015, debuted in 2017 for NXT, is also gone. Mars Wang, who was recruited from China, was signed in 2018, is now gone. And yeah, it's just a day-to-day thing. We're just getting more NXT stars coming through. We've not had any massive SmackDown releases come through as of yet, but obviously SmackDown has just been released today, so we could potentially hear of a few people from SmackDown being released as well. And also,
there were a few rumours knocking about yesterday that they were going to try and sort out their taping schedule for SmackDown and get a little bit of the writing done to figure out who they need and who may be let go. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's more releases coming up sometime soon.
That's frightening, isn't it? Like you could have. A lot of the people who we saw on SmackDown this week, that could have been one of their last appearances on the show.
Well,
it's just
they did that with Raw last week, didn't they? Like Sarah Logan and things like that. Like
no way,
fly them in. Yeah, no way, Jose. Fly them in. Don't even know it's their last match. Like.
Just frightening. And also in terms of some of the people who were released earlier in the week, it's been revealed that via Sean Ross of Fightful.com on Twitter that Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, the OC members, and Mike and Mia Kanellis, their deals, apparently the deals that they were on before they got released, were lasting until mid-2024. So this isn't a case of people just running down to the end of their contracts and just about to expire. Let's just release them anyway. They're on the way out. No, this is people who were in the middle or at the beginning of massive deals just gone. So whether they've got huge payoffs to pay off the rest of those deals themselves, which again could be quite lucrative if you've got another 3-4 years left on your contract, that's huge. But yeah, again, it's just showing these are the most sporadic releases that I can remember in quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a great situation, and I'm sure loads more information will come out over the next couple of weeks about all of this, and we will definitely keep you all informed. But to finish on something a little bit lighter, Heath Slater, one of the releases from this week, obviously, he's got a new t-shirt out on Pro Wrestling Tees, and it is brilliant. And here it is. He's not just got kids, he got fired.
I love it. I love it. Do you see his Instagram video that he put on?
I haven't, no, actually.
He was really candid and really honest and open about what had happened, because he was one of the people who didn't just come out and say, oh, this is how it feels straight away. He said, give me a couple of hours, I just need to process it all. And he sits there with a course light, and he just has he just shoots the breeze about it all. And it's really, check it out. Check it out on Instagram, because I don't want to just butcher and say some of the comments that he said without actually saying them verbatim. But it's really, it just shows how hard it's hit him. And at the end of it, he was just like, he's got to feed them kids. So he's got to do something.
I mean, if you're looking at the silver lining, it happened to Drew, it happened to Jinder Mahal. He's going to come back, he's going to be ripped, and then he's going to be WWE champion.
Oh, I'd love it. I got that title. That's the shirt's coming.
Anyway, that is it for the Saturday news. Thank you very much for joining us. I have been Phil Chambers. You can follow me on Twitter at PhilMyChambers, and you can follow Gareth
at GMorgan04.
And you can follow everyone at WhatCulture at WhatCulture WWE. Make sure to go to Kayfabe News on YouTube as well, because we've got an interview up there with Chris Van Vliet, and he says who his least favourite interview of all time is. It's a good one.
He polishes an Emmy in that interview. I've seen this interview. It's brilliant.
He's got 4 of them apparently.
Madness.
Ridiculous.
Where's our Emmy?
Where is it, indeed? So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, have a bloody great day, everyone. Bye.